In Lesson 8.1, Day 1, Examples 1 through 4, you will simplify algebraic expressions by using the distributive property. When you have a number outside a set of parentheses, like this, it means to take and multiply everything inside the parentheses by the number on the outside. You want to distribute the 4 to everything on the inside. So we're going to start by going 4 times x. 4 times x is 4x. And then 4 times, this is a positive 7. 4 times positive 7 is positive 28. Since it's positive, I'm going to write plus 28. Now our next example is the same type of problem, but instead of putting the number in front, they put it at the end. So I'm going to take this 5 and I'm going to distribute it to everything inside, or multiply everything inside the parentheses by 5. 5 times y is 5y. And then 5 times this positive 2 is a positive 10, so plus 10. Now you may want to pause the video and try the next examples on your own. 6 times a is 6a. And 6 times this positive 4 is positive 24, so plus 24. The 8 is at the end instead of the beginning, so we're just going to take the 8 and multiply it by the n, 8n. And then 8 times a positive 3 is positive 24, so plus 24. Now negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And negative 2 times a positive 1. A negative times a positive is always going to be negative. So 2 times 1 is 2. It's going to be a negative 2. Since it's negative 2, instead of writing plus a negative 2, I'm just going to write minus 2. Since it was negative 2, I put minus 2. Because remember, minus 2 is really the same thing as plus a negative 2. But this is a better way to write that. All right, in our next example, 6 times p is 6p. And now this minus 5 is really like plus a negative 5. So anytime you see subtraction in front, you might want to think about that as being like a negative, because minus 5 is the same as adding a negative 5. So let's take 6 and multiply it by negative 5. 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. And since it's negative 30, rather than writing plus a negative 30, we're just going to write minus 30. Again, when you multiply, if you end up with a positive, we write plus whatever it is. And if you end up with a negative, we write minus, because adding a negative is the same thing as subtracting. All right, next example, negative 2 times x is negative 2x. And now this is negative 2 times a negative 8, because remember, subtracting 8 is the same thing as adding a negative 8. So negative 2 times negative 8 is positive 16, and since it's positive, we're going to write plus 16. You may want to pause the video and try the next few on your own. 3 times y is 3y. And again, since this is minus 10, think of it as a negative 10. 3 times a negative 10 is negative 30. Since it's negative, we're going to write down minus 30. Instead of writing plus a negative 30, we'll write it as minus 30 instead. Negative 7 times w is negative 7w. And this is like a negative 4. So negative 7 times negative 4 is positive 28 because a negative times a negative is positive. And since it's positive, we're going to go ahead and write plus 28. This one looks a little different. It's everything inside of the parentheses times negative 9. So negative 9 times n is negative 9n. And then once again, this minus 2 is like a negative 2. So negative 9 times negative 2, that's going to be a positive 18. And since it's positive, we're going to write plus 18.